Welcome to Lattes and Art, presented by J Squared Atelier, the podcast where creativity brews and inspiration flows. I'm your host, James William Moore, and today we're taking a look into the world of film photography with a special guest, Oscar Delgadillo. As we explore the theme of falling in love with film photography again, Oscar shares his passion for the analog process, its tactile charm, and the creative constraints that spark innovation. Whether you're a seasoned film photographer or just curious about the magic of shooting on film, this episode will rekindle your appreciation for a slower, more intentional way of capturing moments. Grab your favorite latte and let's get started. Today, I'm really excited. One of my best pals is here. Oscar, he and I met in San Jose State's program for the BFA. And Oscar, I'm really excited to have you here today. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure. I couldn't be more excited to be here.
So one of the things that I was so impressed with your photography right from the start is that you were using film. Can you tell us why you were using film?
Well, I would have to say that the reason why I love film so much is because of my childhood. Every time growing up, me and my family, we would go on these week-long vacations to Mexico. My mother would always bring a disposable film camera. So honestly, my love for film photography started because of my mom. She's the reason why I got into photography, to be honest with you.
I love it. I wonder if that's why we have a connection, because my mom gave me an old Kodak Brownie when I was 4. And so there's just something with that sticks in our hearts.
Yeah, I would have to say it was just me being mischievous. Like, I love to grab the camera, and if my parents were like just groggy, just waking up, taking the photos of them like at their most vulnerable state, or my brothers too, if they're in the bathroom, brushing their teeth or combing their hair or doing anything, I love just to steal the camera and just take photos of them and just run away. Because I knew that it would anger them or tell them like, no, stop, no, wait. And like, I love getting that type of response from people. I've always been very mischievous and love pranking people. So, but to be honest with you, yeah, my mom is the reason why I love photography to begin with.
Because you talked about the mischievousness and capturing these moments. Is that why you're drawn to doing street photography?
Oh, for sure. I think just the unknown, just not knowing what I'm getting myself into, that's why I love street photography. And to be quite honest with you, I was scared of street photography until recently because, as you know, I did a lot of portraitures at my time at San Jose State. I felt like I was just needed to get out of my comfort zone and try something new. And that's why I decided to do street photography since COVID started, because a lot of the photos I've been posting online recently, it's all stuff from the early COVID days. And that's probably the most fun I've had since I started doing photography in 2016. Low pressure, not knowing what I'm getting myself into. It's what Henry Cartier-Bresson said, the decisive moment. There's so many times where I forgot my camera and I looked at a scene or a person on the bus or someone sitting on a bench feeding pigeons, whatever the scene is, and I'm like, man, I wish I would have brought my camera. But there's also times where I did bring my camera and I took photos of leading lines or the light hitting a building just right, and I can't even describe the joy that it brings me.
Well, and that's the exciting thing, because like when you and I were in school together, you were doing these portraits and it was amazing watching you capture these individuals. But even then I felt there was this sort of streetwise eye that you used when you were photographing them. If you had them on a staircase at an apartment building, or you had them getting on or off light rail, or whatever it happened to be, but there was just something that it felt like your eye was always in that street mode. Do you feel that?
Oh, for sure. I think that just has to do with me just always being observant of the things around me, the environment. I've always been like that since I've been a kid. I just always been super observant. My imagination's always running wild. I'm always looking at buildings, reading signs. I think as a kid, it was just a form of distraction to keep me occupied. That has to do with it when it comes to my photography, for sure.
With film photography, we have no idea what we caught. It is on this celluloid that's inside the camera, and it's not that instant gratification that we get with digital. Can you tell me how that feels for you when you're in that decisive moment?
We live in a world today where everything's about instant gratification. Yeah, you can use your digital camera and you can look at the image that you captured instantly, and you either like it or you not like it, and boom, you can delete it off your camera. With film, you take the photo and you don't know what's on it until you get until you develop it and you get your film scans back. And to me, that's what excites me the most, is not knowing what I captured. Sometimes I could be disappointed and I miss the mark, and I say, you know what, well, maybe next time I'll try to compose the image differently. I'll think about scaling or use different angles, shoot at a different angle. I'll look at it differently next time. But if it's something that I really love, oh, there's no better feeling. Yeah, I say, like, I tell my friends whenever I get my film scans back from Henry's at Photo Express, it's like opening a pack of Pokemon cards when I was a kid. This can either be the best roll of film I ever shot ever in my life, or it can just be a pack of hot garbage. But either way, it's all learning. It's a learning curve. It's a labor of love, for sure.
Well, and that's what I think is so great about your work. You're always learning. Like, I can see what you have done with the newer photos. And what is it about going with expired film that is so important for you?
Again, I think it's a Russian roulette. You can get your film scans back and it just could be black, just nothing, no information, nothing on it, or you can get, it's a pleasant surprise. You can get an image that's very beautiful. And I feel like a lot of people are scared of shooting expired film because they fear nothing's going to come back out of it. It's going to be too grainy. But I love that. I love the graininess. It's just something about it.
If you're listening, definitely check out Oscar's Instagram. And I'll make sure in the show notes that his handle comes through. But when you see the images that you take, I love, there's this nostalgia. With that expired film, you're getting different colors. You're getting kind of almost not a vignetting, but there's just, because it's expired, it doesn't have the right color.
If I were to take a photo of a building or whatever, anything that doesn't make it seem like it's in the present time, it makes it feel like it's something like captured it from the past. There's a color shift in the film. It loses the sensitivity to light as well, so it's more of a dramatic feel to it.
Well, and it feels also that you have a connection to that crapshoot. You don't know what you're going to get. You talked about the image could come back black. It could have not the sensitivity to light, so it might be a little underexposed.
Exactly, yeah.
But you seem to have connected to that and still can find these amazing shots.
It's a gamble. Honestly, it's a gamble. And I think that's what excites me the most. I'm a degenerate. Yeah. I love gambling you can tell by my Pokemon addiction, where I buy all these packs, and yeah, I feel like it's the same thing. It's just it's the unknown is what gets me excited. And I never used to be like that. I didn't try to take risks because I didn't like change, or I didn't scare the unknown. In the last few years, I decided just to kind of let that go and kind of just gamble myself, and gamble that, everything's gonna be fine. Even if the images were to come back black, that's totally fine. Everything's a learning curve. It's trial and error.
Well, and it's funny because one of the points that I was hoping to hit is this learning curve. You have taught yourself how to adapt to that film that's expired, because it, like you said, might not have the sensitivity, might have a color shift. For someone who's looking to possibly try working with film, an expired film, what pointers can you give them?
Number one, definitely don't be afraid to experiment. As you can tell, that's why I've been experimenting with expired film. Don't be discouraged if you do get a blank roll of film back. It happens to everyone. I remember my first roll of film. Henry, luckily, he loaded it for me at Photo Express. He loaded my first roll of film ever. I watched him do it. And when I built up the courage to do it myself the second time, I don't think I put the film on the latch strong enough. So I just closed the door of the film camera. And when I got it developed, it was completely blank. And that's fine. That happens to everyone. That happened at San Jose State. I remember I would be in film class, and a lot of people would get their negatives out of the dark room, and they put it to the light and do the light test, and there's nothing. And then they just like slump their shoulders, and they're just so discouraged. And I totally get that. It's gonna happen to everyone. Take that as a learning experience, and yeah, don't be afraid to fail. Failing is the best way you can become better.
I love that. I'm teaching Introduction to Photo right now at Gavilan College, and I tell them with the first assignment when they come back, and they're working on digital because we don't have the darkroom to develop there. But I tell them, if you get nothing but a white square or a black square, it's okay. We can still look at your settings and learn from that. There's this learning experience. And I think that's what you're saying. You're not going to know walking into it. Play, have fun, discover what it does.
Yeah, because if you walk into it and you expect to be perfect and expect to be Ansel Adams or these famous established photographers, you're already setting yourself up for failure by having high expectations to begin with. Just have fun. Just experiment something new. Be obsessed with it. That's what I did to learn how to become a better photographer. I brought my camera everywhere. Even when I started with a digital camera, I wish I would have kept some of those old photos just to see how far I've come since then. But I just got so embarrassed that I just deleted them because they weren't great. But honestly, you become better by practice.
Well, and I think it's funny how we've all had those embarrassing shots, right? We've decided they're embarrassing. They didn't turn out, they weren't the way we hoped, and we just kind of throw them away.
Yeah.
But with film, you can't delete it. It's there. You can
etched.
throw the film away, but then, do you really want to do that?
Yeah, then that's just a waste. But yeah, just don't be scared to experiment, Try different angles, composition, use light. Light is your best friend. Mastering how to use light in photography, that will definitely make your photograph more dynamic and more beautiful, and it will just stand out.
Dude, I need you to come into my classroom and that you just said about light, because that's what we're talking about right now. It's the light's so important for a photograph. And if you can teach your eye to see it and how it bends and colors and does these things.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, even leading lines, like I'm a sucker for leading lines. Leading lines, color, complementary colors, anything. That's stuff that I definitely look for when I'm doing street photography or my portraiture, where I'm having these people stand in front of colorful buildings or staircases. I make sure that whatever they're wearing like matches the building. Like that's how my brain just is wired. Like I get happy. Like I just love seeing leading lines, color. And Yvonne at San Jose State, she would always tell me that I have the eye. The eye. She said, you can't teach the eye. It's either you have it in photography or you don't, but you have it. And I felt like that's one of the best compliments I ever received.
Well, I agree with her in that, because when I look at your images, I mean, I've always been drawn to them. There's a story in there, and it's said sometimes it's the most simplest composition. There's a bunch of negative space or whatever it happens to be, but there's just something in the way that you draw and paint with your camera that's captivating.
The reason why I feel like it's like that is because I would have to say, well, it all starts with my parents. Like I said, if it wasn't for my parents, especially my mother letting me borrow that disposable camera, I don't think I would be here today. Or the Polaroid camera. I have some of those Polaroids. I got to find them where my mom's just like washing the dishes or cooking, and she's just looking back with her mouth open, and I snap the photo and I run away, and she's just chasing me, trying to get it back. Those are like the defining moments where I can say that's what started it all. And then just my parents being so lenient. I never knew this until years later that my mom said that. The reason why our dad, like, he was strict about certain things, but certain things he wasn't, because he said he just wanted us to have a normal upbringing, American upbringing, so we wouldn't be teased at school. So I feel like that's Another reason why I am who I am today is because my parents were just so lenient, so just cool with just like letting us do what we wanted to do, like letting us express ourselves and like.
Well, it's interesting too because with art, a lot of parents, it's like, no, don't do art.
Yeah.
Like, go learn science, go learn, engineering, go learn something. I hear your story, which is very similar to how my parents were with me. And I look at what you and I are doing now and how happy we are.
Yeah, I say like my parents not always agreed with what we did, but at the end of the day, as long as we were happy and we loved doing what we were doing, they were fine at the end of the day. But as long as we weren't getting into trouble and we're just doing what we were supposed to do, like at the end of the day, he was super lenient. Or even my mom too. Like, yeah, there's times where she would say like, "Oh, I wish you were a doctor." Typical immigrant parent wish. I wish you were a doctor. I wish you were a lawyer. I wish you were this and that. But at the end of the day, my mom would always just reiterate that as long as I was happy, learning what I was learning, studying at school, and she saw like my grades were always good and I was just super interested and like in love with what I was doing, that was just more than enough. So yeah, if it wasn't for my parents, I don't think I would have been in an artistic field to begin with.
So now you shoot with 35 millimeter. And for some that have never touched film, there are different sizes. There's 35 millimeter, there's 120, right? There's large format and 4x5 or 8x10. And you work in 35 millimeter. What kind of cameras do you use? What brands of film do you find that you like best? What's up with that?
Yeah, I shoot primarily 35 millimeter. I wish I can get into 120. That's next. So hopefully when I go abroad and when I go overseas to Japan soon, hopefully I can find a cheap 120 film camera and really start getting into that. So 35 millimeter is primarily what I shoot with. 24, 36 exposures. I know 120, depending if it's 6x9, 6x10. It's less images. It's like what? Maybe
it's be 10
to
12.
10 to 12 images, right? Less room to, mess up with. The bigger payoff, I guess, is 120 is higher quality images.
Well, the negative's larger.
Negative's larger for one and higher image quality. Something about 35 millimeter that I don't know, it just always draws me back. With digital cameras, they have the term spray and pray, right? Where you can have... I remember I would do that. I was very guilty of spraying and praying where I would have 1,000 images and I'll just go through them and I'll be like, oh my God, this is kind of too much. And it's funny now that even with 36 exposures, like I sometimes get my roll of film back and I'm like, oh my God, I think 5 photos of the same thing. I said, that's kind of too much.
But isn't it helpful if you've got a few of the same thing, if you're not sure of that light, if you're not sure of that angle, and you shoot it a couple of times?
Yeah, and then during those 5s, and I usually end up picking the one that I like the most, like you said, like the one with the best angle, the one with the best lighting, the least distractions, So yeah, it does have its pros and cons definitely there's pros and cons that come with that.
Cameras, both film and digital, come in point and shoot. They come in single lens reflex, the SLRs. Which do you gravitate to?
I have point and shoot camera. So I have a Yashica T3. So it's a very famous cult classic film point and shoot camera. It has a really great lens on it. And that's what I love the most about it. It has a Carl Zeiss lens. Carl Zeiss lenses to me are probably the best lenses in photography. Leica camera uses them, contacts, top-notch quality glass. And I feel like that really does make the difference. Because I use other like Olympus point and shoot cameras and it's not Zeiss. And there's kind of like a soft focus. And
almost cloudy.
Cloudy. Yeah, and I don't...
Is it glass or is it plastic?
It could be plastic. Holgas use plastic cameras, and
yep.
and with Holgas, you'd be surprised at some of the images that you can take with that. If it's a 35 millimeter Holga or a 120, I've seen 120 Holgas, and even though it's plastic, they get some pretty great images from that. Honestly, I always go back to my Yashica T3, or I use a Nikon L35AF, super 80s camera where it's just like plastic on the outside, but the image quality is just so amazing. The Nikon lenses are really sharp too. And then for my SLR, I use a Canon. What's that famous Canon camera that everyone uses? It's equivalent of the...
I'm a Nikon boy.
You're
so
a Nikon boy. This is my first Nikon camera, the L35AF that I ever got. Even with digital, I was a Canon boy. Yeah, this Nikon that I got, I really love. I'm going to be taking it to Japan with me, so I'm really excited.
You mentioned Japan. Your growth in photography, how much of that has drawn you to do this amazing trip?
Since my photography journey, I've taken my camera to New York City, San Francisco countless of times, Los Angeles, Portland, Seattle. I'm just ready now. If I would have went to Japan earlier, I think I would have been too scared to even go up to a person and say, hey, try to, in my broken down Japanese, try to, hey, you have a really cool outfit. Can I take a photo of you? Years before, I wouldn't be able to do that. Now, I think I'm ready for that.
I was excited when you told me you were doing this trip to Japan and Tokyo, and all I could think about was the eye candy of photos you were going to capture, because your street photography, I feel, plays right into that nostalgia and neonness of Tokyo.
And then going back to film stocks, I already have all the film stocks in mind that I'm going to take, Cinestill 800. That's really great for nighttime photography. If there's light, neon light, I'm going to take Portrait 800, Portrait 400, and then Cinestill 400, and Lomography 400. Yeah, Lomography 400 is definitely a new film stock I haven't used before, and I'm going to try out for the first time. So
I'm
really
excited that you're finally using some Lomography, because
Yeah.
I love their stuff.
Yeah, I know that they're based out of Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to try their stuff out.
It's interesting with Lomography. Way back in the day, you would get the film specific to the kind of light you were shooting. And that meant if you were under tungsten light or sunlight or whatever, right? And especially in the slide film, that was important. But Lomography seems to have jumped on this bandwagon of film and given us all of these different types that kind of mimic that coloration, or mimic sort of expired but not really, because their film's not expired. Have you played with any of those yet?
No, I know there's a lot of new different films. The one film that I have played with before, it was called Psychedelic Blues, and it's pre-exposed film to light. I think they use a light prism, and then you shoot it. I think they use Kodak Ultramax, and then they pre-expose it to light using, I think, light prisms. I'm not too sure. And then they re-roll it, I guess, and then you shoot the film, and it just looks like giant light leaks throughout your images. And that's the only one that I played with. But definitely, it's an exciting time to be an analog photography fan, because Harman Technology, for example, the people that make Ilford, they come out with a new film stock called Phoenix 200. So it's very warm film. Henry says that if you like street photography, shooting in abandoned buildings, that's the type of film that you can use. Not so much for portraiture, because it'll make your skin look kind of like orange, yellow orange. But definitely for street photography, that's another one that I think I might bring to for daytime. Yeah, definitely it's an exciting time with Harman developing new film, Cinestill making the 400 film speed, Kodak Gold, it's on 120 film now. I think people say that film's dying, but I think there's a resurgence going on.
Well, and I want to talk about that for a second, because it did. We lost Kodak for the longest while. Yeah. They sort of disappeared. And they kind of messed up from a business model standpoint. But people were still hungry for film, and there was this, the hipster movement that seemed to be gravitating towards the point and shoot cameras that they'd find in old antique stores.
Yeah.
And now here we are with just a plethora of choices to use for film, and sizes that we're not limited to a 35 millimeter. We can shoot in 120 or in large format. And Ilford, who's been around forever,
it's in prior,
yeah, and they've got a new stock. They've got a new film we can use, which is almost unheard of.
Yeah, with in the digital age, yeah, I agree. That's unheard of, and I think that's amazing. That's a testament that I think as long as there's a need or a want or a market out there, I don't feel like film photography will fully go away. And then if that day does come, I've told a couple of my friends or cohorts. I don't think I've told you this, but I definitely told other people that the day that there's no more film or no more film cameras, that's the day I stop being a photographer. And I don't think, and that's not a knock against people who love digital photography, because at the end of the day, it's just a tool in a toolbox. It's literally just a light box. We're as photographers, we're just capturing light. That's it.
That's all we're doing.
We're just capturing light.
So now, you shoot in color, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Do you still put black and white into your camera at any time?
I have a lot of black and white film. I just haven't shot it. I think I'm waiting. It just comes in moods and seasons, and just one day I'll go back to black and white. That's something I definitely want to do. But I'm just having so much fun using color right now and expired color film that I don't see myself going back to black and white anytime soon. One day though, if I do go back to black and white, I definitely want to shoot 1600 film stock. Yeah, super grainy. Yeah. The Ilford, what's it called? It's super grainy. It's the purple and black label. Ilford Delta 3200. That's what it's called. Yeah, when I was at San Jose State in my black and white film photography class intro, I use a lot of Delta 3200. A lot of people don't like grain in their photos. They think it's distracting. I love it. I love Ilford 3200. It's super grainy, super punchy. I think it's just raw. It's just...
Well, you inspired part of my lectures that I do for light and film speed, even in digital, because we can push it to 1600 and 3200, and we can push grain or noise into our pictures. Yeah. But you just embrace that. You find it as something that allows mood or style or mystery into your picture, having that. There's a nostalgia that just never seems to leave your work.
Yeah, I think it just has to do with that film is so forgiving. The latitude of film, like, oh my God, like, the pushing, the pulling, like, if there's so many times where even when I got this new film camera, I think the previous owner left it at 1,000 ISO, and then I had 400 box speed, and I just let Henry know, like, hey, like, oh my God, like, I totally goofed, like, this person left it at 1,000 ISO and it's 400, and he's like, no, it's totally fine, like, since still's totally forgiving, like, it's the latitude of film anyways, like, it's fine, it allows you to, like, to mess up.
Well, even those mess ups can be on purpose, because with film, so we've mentioned Henry a few times. So here in San Jose, we have this amazing space called Photo Express that Henry has run forever. And if you are into cameras and film and that, you have to go see Henry. He's brilliant. But when we shoot film, we don't have to set the camera to the speed that the film is. But when we develop it, we need to make sure it gets developed with that adjustment, which correct. Is this push and pull that you're talking about.
Yeah, you push it 2 stops, you pull it 2 stops. You make the corrections in the development process, and that's the key part. Yeah, if you do that, you're golden. You're fine.
With color photography and color film, we can't develop that ourselves. There's just too much in that process.
It's just too much. Unless, I think the cheapest way you can do it is if you get the Cinestill kit. But even then, like, it's really expensive. It's just not cost effective. Black and white, you just need like two ingredients, I think. Yeah.
Right, in a dark bathroom.
In a dark bathroom that you can just put a towel down, just make sure there's no light coming out. Just develop it. Boom. Within an hour, you have magic happens.
Yeah. I haven't shot black and white film in a while, but I still develop it myself. I've got the developer bag that I can get it into the canister to do all of the chemical work in.
Yeah, you can, even if you want to get a single roll, or if you want to save money, you can just buy the roll of film and just, put in those the little darkroom bags where you can just put your hands in and you can just roll your own film.
Oh, yeah. Well, and that's funny because I got my hands on an old Kodak Brownie, and the film size for that, because it's so old, was 126. So it's slightly off from a 120.
Yeah.
But I can roll 120 film onto those reels and shoot in my...
Yeah, you can still totally do that. I think a lot of those older cameras, as long as I seen even some people online, they 3D print adapters so they can just fit the roll of film onto those old cameras and shoot it, and it still works. Yeah, that Kodak Brownie camera, yeah, that's the start of it all, right?
Well, almost.
Almost.
It was in that same realm of those first Kodak boxes.
Because I know that what Kodak did is that if you bought a Kodak Brownie, they included that roll of film, and then when you shot that roll of film, you could send it back to Rochester, New York, and then they develop it for you, and they send them back your images. On top of that, they send you another roll of film. So it's kind of like...
Well, Kodak is the one that actually brought film photography to the masses because they made it a process. Their logo or their
slogan.
Sales pitch was, you snap the picture, we do the rest. And you would send the box back to them and they'd get the film out and they'd reload it. And it's really what brought photography to the masses.
Is where the everyday, the blue collar, anyone can do it, because before that it's kind of rich people.
Exactly.
Yeah, they were to get their portraits taken with the old timey 4x5 camera and
the daguerreotypes,
daguerreotypes,
all of that stuff. And Kodak is the one that actually, I believe it was World War II, that with the enlisted men, they had the pocket-sized camera that fit in their shirts. So we had these men that were going off to war with cameras, and then they all came back. And in the 50s, there's this... Everybody wanted pictures. Everybody was traveling and doing. And they all had these cameras from the war. It was amazing. When we're in the process of shooting with film, do you think it changes how a photographer sees time and the subject matter that we're photographing?
I think for sure, definitely time. I think patience. I think time, patience, subject matter. It definitely makes you slow down and be present in the moment, for sure. I think that's what I learned the most about shooting film. It really makes you slow down, take your time, really, really look at what you're going to photograph and really not second guess yourself, but be like, do I really want to take this image? Do I really want to use this exposure? Do I really want to use it for something better? There's times where I do that now. I really take my time with the roll of film. It forces you also to be creative too. I think that too. It brings out the creativeness in me as well too.
Do you think that it slowed you down in other parts of your life? Like you're more considerate or more thoughtful making decisions and whatnot in other areas that are beyond just the camera?
Oh, for sure. I would say I'm a more patient person than I was a couple years ago. For sure. I was never a patient person. But with photography and definitely film photography, it allows me to kind of smell the roses, as you can say, kind of just really just enjoy life and not feel the need to rush anything anymore, and just kind of let things be, let things happen naturally, organically. I think definitely that's something I've learned.
Well, and how amazing to learn that lesson at the point you are in your life, because you're a young individual compared to me, but you already have learned this patience. I'm a little envious.
Like I said, I just turned 31 in August, so I feel like I played a lot of catch up. I don't know. I always felt like I was always playing catch up. I was always behind. Like that was something that was always bothering me. But now I'm like, I don't feel like that no more. I'm in a place in my life where I am where I need to be right now, and I'm totally okay and I'm comfortable with that. I don't feel like I need a rush to do anything. Or
you found your pace.
I found my pace finally. Like, yeah, I'm not playing catch up finally. I am where I need to be, and I'm happy. This
I love hearing
this
this.
yeah this is probably like the happiest I've ever been in my life right now, and yeah, I'm so ecstatic. I'm just so excited for the future.
Well, and I think too that all of that you're feeling comes through in the pictures that you're taking. There's a thoughtfulness, there's a history, there's a memory, there's a passion, and all of this comes through, and it just feels very natural.
Yeah, if you don't, I'm just a very passionate person to begin with. The way I think about things, if you don't love what you do, or why do it? If you don't go 100, like at
Ain't
full
that the
100,
truth?
like
Yeah.
there's no point in doing it. Like I get to the point where if I learn a new hobby or I fully invest into it. I pour hours and hours into it because I just get so interested in it. I just have to know everything about the subject or I'm getting into. So yeah, with film photography, I remember when I got my first camera, I'll just go online and look up manuals, just look up the history behind the camera. If you're not obsessed with it, like why do it? Why bother to begin with? And I guess you can see that through my photography. Like I truly love analog photography, film photography. So just invest into it. I love it. I love it with my heart, my being.
Well, and your work shows that. It absolutely shows that. If someone's trying to take that leap, they may be a photographer or not, but they decide, you know what, I want to play with film. How do you start?
Just research. Like how you said, how you asked me, like, what film cameras you like. Find a SLR online. I know there's the Pentax K1000. If you're out there listening right now and you really want to get into film photography, the Pentax K1000 is such. I learned that back in the day, like in the 70s, that was like the starter camera where if you're in high school or in a college course, they gave you that camera to learn how to start your photography journey. So definitely start looking into cameras that you like, or if you want it less pressure and you want like autofocus, just find a nice point and shoot camera. Find the Nikon L35AF I have is really great. Olympus cameras, Canon. Just look into different film cameras that you think you might enjoy shooting with. Film stocks. Are you a nighttime photographer? You want to go 800? Are you a daytime? Do you want to go 100? Do you want to go 200, 400? There's just so many ways to start.
So some of your cameras you've gotten online.
Yeah.
But have you gotten any from the thrift shops or the charity shops and had amazing luck with them?
Okay, so the one camera that I did get from the thrift shop was a Olympus MJU, so it's a cult classic camera, and then I got it for like $5, and I always wondered why would someone give it up? And then I would get these images, and it was very beautiful images. It just had a slight light leak, but I didn't mind the light leak. I thought it added a little something to the images. It just died on me one day. I finished the roll of film, and then just like the lens wouldn't go back into the inside of the camera, and then it just died on me. And I was really sad. But I'm not like one of those people that found a Yashica T4 or a Contax T2 or T3 for like $1 at the dollar bins at the thrift shop. I'm still waiting for that moment. Hopefully in Japan, because I know in Japan they have a lot of great film cameras for cheap, and they take care of the cameras really well. So I know I'm getting some quality stuff.
Well, and I think that's something we need to make a point of, because we're talking thrift shops, we're talking buying it online, and a lot of people may have had cameras in their closets, or their parents or grandparents, and they may be clearing out houses or closets or whatever, and they run into this equipment. Just because it's being sold doesn't mean it's going to work. So again, you got to take a leap of faith when you're doing these things and be very careful when you're buying one of these used cameras.
Yeah, oh, definitely. Yeah, because I bought a Polaroid from an antique shop, and it's the Polaroid I gave you. And you told me it didn't work.
Yeah. It was it was the style that Warhol used, and I couldn't even get the dang thing to work.
Yeah, that's the reason why I bought that camera, because I looked at it and I looked online the history of it. And yeah, that's the same camera that Andy Warhol would take the famous portrait series.
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone is like the one that, for some reason, the one that sticks out to me the most.
I love Polaroid.
Yeah, Polaroid.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I'm sad that the one I gave you didn't work. That was really,
but it was good lesson for me, because it, like you've been talking about, take risks, take chances, try something new. I opened the camera up to see if there was mechanisms that needed to be adjusted or played with, or if there was a board in there I could switch out, or whatever it happened to be. It just wasn't going to come back to life, that one.
Yeah. And I know those ones are pretty expensive. If you go online, I think they're like, last time I checked, they're like in the $300 range.
Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't checked recently, but I remember last time I checked, it was like $300.
So now with your film, the unexpired film, we've got a bunch of places we can get that from now. But your expired film, where are you finding it at?
You gave me it.
That was not a plug.
Yeah, no. Yeah, you gave me.
You're still working through that stash?
I'm done. Oh. The last 2 roles that I got developed recently at Henry's. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm done.
You need to get into 120 because I've got some 120 for you.
Yeah. I'm done with the 35 millimeter expired film you gave me in class. You gave me that in fall 19 in Jesus's class. I remember he asked me, "Do you want an expired film?" I was like, "Sure."
Well, the thing was, right? I was shooting 120. You were on 35 millimeter, and you were absolutely passionate with expired film. Like what you were creating was unreal.
I know Kat gave me some. I think it's Fuji Pro Plus, some film stock that's been long gone for like over 10 years now, and it's 200 speed. So I would definitely have to shoot that at least at 100, and in the daytime.
Yeah.
So that's definitely another thing too, people. If you definitely want to get into expired film, the more light, the better. Because if you have the less light, the chances are, because there would be photos that I took in San Francisco when the sun's going down, and it's just kind of it's just a muddy mess of just colors. Like nothing really comes out of it. So definitely, shoot in the daytime.
It is a learning experience.
Oh, for sure.
It's been a journey for you coming through it. Any last thoughts about film and the beauty of it?
If you haven't shot film, please shoot it. Since I've been shooting film since 2017 is like when I started doing it. So it's been 7 years now consecutively I've been shooting film. Yeah, I don't think I can ever see myself going back to digital. Film has just caught my heart. It's just something, like you said, something so nostalgic. It's just so beautiful. Colors, the texture, the warmness, the coolness. It's just amazing. I can't even put to words. Just shoot it. Just try it. If it's not for you, that's totally fine.
And definitely go check out Oscar's work on Instagram. You will be impressed, and it will have you fall in love with film.
If you can just look at my page, you don't even have to give a follow. Just look at it, leave a like, comment, share it.
Yeah, show some love.
Yeah, anything. If my work just even inspires you a little bit to go out and just pick up a camera, that means the most to me. I feel like I'm doing my job. I'm doing my part as being an artist or a photographer in general.
Oscar, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate this conversation.
Thank you so much, James, for having me. I appreciate it.
Have a safe trip, and we will talk soon.
Yes, I'll see you when I come back from Japan. Thank you so much.
That wraps up today's episode of Lattes and Art, presented by J2 Atelier. A huge thank you to Oscar Delgadillo for taking us on this nostalgic journey into the world of film photography. If today's conversation sparked your interest, go dust off an old film camera or pick up some fresh rolls and see where it takes you. If you want to discover the amazing artistry of Oscar's photography, please be sure to follow the links found in the episode notes. Don't forget to follow Lattes and Art for more inspiring conversations with artists and creatives. Until next time, I'm James William Moore, and I hope that you'll keep creating, keep exploring, and always find the beauty in the little things. See you soon.